Hi, and welcome to Ask the Expert, the show where you can connect directly with the experts to get your questions answered. I'm Jack Roboff, I'm the Product Marketing Manager for Power Virtual Agents, and today we're talking about conversational AI and Power Virtual Agents. With me, I have Gary Pretty, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Gary Pretty. I'm a Principal Product Manager for Power Virtual Agents, and it's great to be here.
Excellent, thank you. So if you're joining us live, please get your questions into the chat so we can answer them. And if you're watching us on demand, then welcome. Please be sure to check out all the resources provided in the description to learn a bit more. So before we kick off, Gary, I'd love to get an update on, what were the announcements for Power Virtual Agents at Build, just so everyone in the audience can get an idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Great idea, because we did announce a lot. So Power Virtual Agents over the last couple of years has gone through, some significant changes. And for those people who may not be familiar, Power Virtual Agents is a low-code tool as part of the Power Platform that allows you to build conversational agents and bots that you can surface in Teams, web chat, etc. And over the past couple of years, we've been trying to bring together the low code and pro code capabilities. So for example, last year, we took the Azure Bot Framework Composer, which is a visual designer aimed at pro code developers as part of the Azure Bot Framework. And we integrated that into Power Virtual Agents so that you could choose the low code canvas or the pro code canvas to build your bot. What we've announced now at Build is a brand new, built from the ground up, unified authoring canvas that brings together these two worlds into a single place where any member of the Fusion team, be that citizen developers, pro developers, etc., can really, truly collaborate on bot development. As well as the unified authoring canvas, which comes with a ton of capabilities like PowerFX integration, rich responses, and speech authoring. We also made announcements of brand new native telephony capabilities in Power Virtual Agents as well. So the ability to connect an Azure Communication Services phone number to your bot, that takes less than 60 seconds. The ability for you to, in the future, between now and general availability, connect to existing contact centers. So we've really, made some significant announcements, and we're just delighted that folks can get their hands on it now with the new technology preview.
Excellent. Thanks, Gary. And they are truly transformational features, right? They're going to unlock so many new use cases across various different departments, various different industries as well. So I can't wait to see them in action. So whilst we wait for some more questions to come in, I'm going to put you on the spot, Gary. What is your favorite feature out of all of the stuff that we've announced? What is your favorite feature and why?
I get asked this a lot, more than you think, more than you think. So I think my favorite feature is probably the rich responses capability. Because there's so much in it, right? It sounds so simple, but in Power Virtual Agents today with the current canvas, we can create sort of plain text messages, which you can format with bold, italics using Markdown. But we've had customer asks for a long time to allow you to make those responses and messages much richer. And so we've actually now enhanced both our question and message nodes to allow you to add more sort of detail to those components. So I'll just give you an example of 2 or 3. The first one is alternative responses. So over time, if users interact with the bot more than once, their bot can sound a little bit stale or a little bit rigid. If it's giving you exactly the same response every time, it greets you in the same way, it asks the same question in the same way. So you can now provide alternative responses if you want for your messages. So the bot will pick one at random during runtime so that actually it will sound a little bit more natural and engaging as you come back and have more conversations with that bot. It's also now super quick and easy to add images and videos to the message node or the question node. Just paste in a URL or even a YouTube URL. And you get a preview right there in the canvas of what it's going to look like for end users. And finally, adaptive cards. I mean, some people will be using Composer with PVA today to build adaptive cards. If you're not familiar with them, check out the designer over adaptivecards.io. Phenomenal way of displaying information, rich information in a way that makes sense for your users and in a way that's native to the channel that you're using. So the fact that we can do all of this now from a single node is probably my favorite feature. What about you?
Yeah, so it kind of overlaps with the adaptive card bit that you just spoke about. So my favorite is PowerFX.
Oh yeah.
So for those of you on the session that don't know what PowerFX is, it's our low-code Excel expression-like formulas. And Gary and the team in engineering have been working hard in rebuilding our variables and how we manage variables inside of Power Virtual Agent. So now PowerFX underpins how we manage all our variables, how we work with the data, how we make sure that it progresses through the conversation. So what that means now is that you can change and set variables using PowerFX, using these Excel expression-like languages, truly democratizing it. So anyone can kind of do more complex logic without having to really truly go deep behind the code as well. And then the second layer is, when we want a visual experience like an adaptive card, we can turn those adaptive cards with JSON into PowerFX records. So you can then bring those variables that you're using in the conversation for a text format and bringing that into more of a visual format as well through the adaptive card. So that one would be mine.
No, that's a great one, and it's always my go-to if I don't pick rich responses. I switch between them, but certainly with PowerFX as well, because we've now built it now underpins the entire variable system for the new canvas, and it means that not only can you manipulate your data using PowerFX, which is great for that whole spectrum of people who are within that Fusion team, but also we've now been able to take advantage of the additional data types as well within PowerFX. So things like list variables, record variables, and what you're going to see as we move through public preview and general availability later this year, what you will see is even more capabilities. For example, the question node, you'll actually be able to pass a list variable into that question node and have the multiple choice options that you're asking the user be dynamically driven at runtime, which again, we're delivering on yet another top customer ask. So really exciting.
Definitely. So we've got one question from Jeremy in the chat. So what are the language limitations with our AI in Power Virtual Agents today?
So I'm not entirely. I mean, if Jeremy's got some more context that he can drop in to the chat, that would be useful. But I can certainly I can have a go at answering that. But I want to make sure that we're answering the right question. It sounds like what he might be asking in terms of the NLP capabilities that we have within Power Virtual Agents. So. Our natural language processing is a little bit different to what you might be used to if, let's say, you come from bot framework, where you need to do a lot of work in terms of tagging entities, creating entity types, and then providing lots of trigger phrases in order to train your NLP model. We handle a lot of that for you inside of Power Virtual Agents, and we support a number of different languages if we're talking about sort of geographical languages as well. So a lot of that's taken away for you, and actually we find that in general you don't necessarily need that granular control to actually achieve the correct, the right outcome. So not sure if we've answered the right question there. So Jeremy, if there's some more context, please do drop it in the question in the chat.
I think it's a really good point. And I think when it comes to kind of the pre-built NLU that we provide, it also brings a lot of opportunity for people that, maybe don't have the AI and the data scientists that, that are required to build these kind of big projects. And I think I always like to call out that the AI in our product, it kind of comes in two lenses. It's like the proactive AI and it's the reactive AI. It's when you're having a conversation in the bot, and you kind of get the did you mean prompts where it's trying to understand and learn whether you can't pick up the conversation or whether it's not connecting to the right topic. That's kind of that reactive side where it's learning, it's giving you a suggestion on how you can do that. But then the proactive side is, as the builder, the maker for Power Virtual Agents, you're getting suggestions on topics that can be added from what's being missed. So really kind of getting a nice, well-rounded experience for AI on top of, the topic suggestions at the very beginning of the building the bot. And that kind of leads me to the next question from Denny, which is, how much do I need to know to get started using Power Virtual Agents?
Hopefully, if we've done our job right, not a lot. So the just like any other product within Power Platform, we really aim to allow you to get up and running and going as soon as humanly possible. And the great thing about Power Virtual Agents, because it is designed from the very core to be suitable for pro developers and citizen developers and less technical business users. It's designed to be incredibly intuitive. It's one of the things that Power Virtual Agents is known for, is its intuitive canvas. And so you can actually sign up for a trial today over on the Power Virtual Agents website. From there, you can create your first bot. You can do that in just a minute or two. And once you've created that bot, you're immediately provided out of the box with a bot that has a number of sample topics. Now, by topics, what we're talking about, for those of you who don't know, are really the individual pieces of your conversation, usually mapped to a use case. So if I was building a bot for a bank, I might have a topic for apply, credit card application. I might have another one for get balance. And we provide you with a number of sample topics in the out-of-the-box bot that you create when you use Power Virtual Agents. And each one of those topics, they're called lesson topics. They actually contain an example use case of how do I send a message? How do I ask a question? How do I use a condition maybe to check on the follow up to a question and, branch my logic depending on the answer. So hopefully you can get going incredibly quickly.
Excellent. Yeah, and I think in product we make it really seamless for you to get started. There's lots of opportunities to learn, and broader. If you go on our website or if you're watching us from Microsoft Learn and Microsoft Docs, there is a ton of content on there to really start from zero. There's a blog that we've put together that has all the learning resources that you can imagine. So we have PVA in a day sessions, which is Power Virtual Agents in a day. And we have many partners and Microsoft colleagues as well hosting those. So you can just show up with zero knowledge. And by the end of the day, you've got a working bot that you've been able to learn, understand the different steps and the processes as well. So hopefully that gives you a bit of confidence that, yes, you can absolutely get started from scratch within one day.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to call out there's a huge community around Power Virtual Agents as well in the forums. And so if you do get started and you hit some sort of stumbling block, take advantage of that community around Power Platform and more specifically around Power Virtual Agents. There's a lot of people there to help you. And even our MVP community makes some incredible video series out there on YouTube that you can go and check out as well.
Yeah, good point. Okay, next question from Project Power D365, which is, what is the recommended way to extend PVA with backend support systems and third-party APIs? Is it Power Automate or Bot Framework?
That's another great question. So I think that the simple answer here is actually, quite often, I like the simple answers, is really, Power Automate is your friend when it comes to integrating with third-party systems, whether that's using one of the hundreds of pre-built connectors that you have access to with Power Automate, or whether or not you're building your own flow and using more sort of what I would call bare metal connectors, so things like the HTTP request. The nice thing within Power Virtual Agent is you can add a node to your canvas and call any one of your flows that use the built-in Power Virtual Agent template. And when you create your Power Virtual Agent bot, you can go and create a new flow from right within the canvas. You go to add that node and you'll have an option to create a new flow. You can go and do that. Now, if that's not always what's needed, we also do have an option today if you're using the Bot Framework Composer canvas and the Composer tool to add a node which will carry out a HTTP request. So you can call a RESTful API, for example, directly from the canvas. And that's something that we will continue on with as we move into the new canvas as well. So there's a few options for you there.
Excellent point. And I think I just wanted to go a bit deeper on that Power Automate side as well. We talked about being able to bring the 700 plus data connectors, pre-built data connectors that you can use today. But you've also got the ability to do pre-built, with the HTTP connectors. But it's not just, on the cloud API calls as well. We've also, so that's like, our digital process automation. We've also got, robotic process automation as well. So you can also call RPA with Power Automate as well. So if you've got offline, if you've got apps that only can be accessed on old PCs and they can't be connected to the internet, or not internet, but some other scenarios like that, or also the on-premise data gateway as well. So there's many chances. It's not just necessarily like APIs on the cloud. You can also kind of jump around and access different systems as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. Again, from Project Power D365, a little bit more technical, this one, which is how to create options lists from JSON array or table variables coming from Power Automate.
Good. Another great question. Another one we get a lot. It won't surprise you to know. So today, well, I guess there's two parts to that answer. So the first part is with the Power Automate connector. Today, you can only return some, fairly primitive variable types, so text, number, and Boolean. We do have on our backlog we do have the desire to expand that in the future, but we don't have anything to announce at the moment. So you can have results or your data returned from Power Automate through that connector, but you need to take advantage of one of those three variable sets. Now, what you could do today is actually return the JSON through a sort of a string or a text variable back through Power Automate, and then you could take advantage of that bot framework tool. So I mentioned earlier that you can choose to build topics in Power Virtual Agents, either using the native canvas or by using the Bot Framework Composer tool. Now, the great thing about the Bot Framework Composer tool, and this is probably a little bit hidden for most people, is that when you create what we call a dialogue or a topic inside of Bot Framework Composer, you can actually specify input and output variables as well. So what you can do is you can say, okay, I actually need to take advantage of some of the capabilities within Composer that don't exist on the PDA canvas. I'm going to create a new topic, and that new topic might be, ask a multiple choice question or dynamic multiple choice question. So you can open Composer, create a new topic, specify an input variable, which might be the JSON string, and then you can, if you need to, specify some output variables, which might be the answer to the multiple choice question. You can then take advantage of one of the built-in input dialogues within Bot Framework Composer. So it has text, it has number, but in this case, you can use multiple choice. And that multiple choice in Composer today can be dynamic. So you can actually take some data, manipulate it using the expression language in Composer, and actually power your multiple choices dynamically. Now, that's the story today in PDA, the generally available PDA canvas with Composer. As I mentioned earlier, as we move into our new unified authoring canvas, we are going to start to surface some of these options up for you and make them much more intuitive and easier to use, such as adding an explicit dynamic multiple choices option to the question node, where you can pass in a list variable, and that list variable can contain variables of different types. So it could be a list of number, a list of string, or even a list of record, where you can then say, within this list of records, I want to use this field as the display name. And when the user selects an answer, then you'll get the entire record fed back to you. So a lot to unpack there, but hopefully that's giving you a sense of what you might be able to look into today and what's coming.
Excellent, thank you. And just on that point, so you talked around the Bot Framework Composer integration as well there, Gary. Is that included in Power Virtual Agents today, just for the users? Can they easily access? Can they jump in and switch into that within the Power Virtual Agents experience?
Yes, absolutely. So I think one thing that it's potentially one of those hidden gems of Power Virtual Agents today, and maybe people get a little bit confused in terms of, well, I don't have Composer, or I don't have that Azure subscription, or or whatever. Well, within Power Virtual Agents today, if you create a new bot, and you go to that new topic button in the top of the page, there's a little arrow next to it. You click on that arrow and it will drop down. And there you can choose either create my topic with the native canvas or open Bot Framework Composer. Now, Bot Framework Composer is a locally installable tool. It's built with Electron, so you can install it on Windows, you can install it on Mac, you can install it on Linux. And once you've installed that local tool, and you choose to create a new topic with it, what will actually happen is Composer will open, it will just deep link into Composer, it will download a local copy of your project, it'll ask you to sign in with the same creds that you've signed in to PBA with, so nothing, nothing major there. Once you've downloaded that project, you can work on it locally inside of Composer, take advantage of all of those capabilities. It's completely included with everything that you get with your PBA subscription. And then once you've completed your changes, there's a publish button. And once you click that, the publish takes around sort of 30 seconds. When you then go back to your Power Virtual Agents tab in your browser, go to the topic list and you'll see any new topics that you've added. And those topics will then be available to call from any of your other topics as well. So if you let's say you could build one thing that we see as a common example is people want to get hold of the channel ID. They want to know what channel is the user interacting on for a bot that maybe you made it available on web chat and Teams. So a really simple thing to do: open Bot Framework Composer, create a new topic called Get Channel ID, add an output slot, an output variable to that called Channel ID, which is a string. And there's a single action that you add to the node, which goes and grabs the channel ID off the incoming activity, something that's incredibly easy to do in Composer. Publish that back to Power Virtual Agents. You can then at any point within your conversation flows in your other topics, call that get channel ID topic that you've built in Composer, and an output variable will be created for you. Once you've got that, you can then have a condition that says, well, if I'm on Teams, I want to send these questions, and if I'm on web chat, I want to send these questions. So you can actually do some very small, succinct things in Composer that can actually make your life a lot easier.
So there's so much opportunity for extensibility, right? And it will just continue to get easier as we bring out the new unified.
Yeah, I mean, all of the stuff that I've just described is actually not even an issue in the new canvas, because we've made a ton of system variables available for you to access immediately. I would say to anybody who wants to learn more about using Composer today, that PVA in a day content that you referred to earlier has specific modules. There's a module in there talking about how to use Composer to build a multimodal greeting topic. Go grab that. It'll take you 20 minutes to walk through, and it will just unlock a number of different possibilities for you.
Good point. So Pradeep has asked a question: any resources to learn about Power Virtual Agents? So I'll take this one, Gary.
Yeah, that's a good one for you to take, definitely.
Absolutely. So we recently wrote a blog, and it was during the New Year's resolution, actually, and it was a chance for everyone to just learn Power Virtual Agents if you've never learned it before, from zero experience. So definitely check out aka.ms/learnpva, and that really takes you down from really high level examples to how it can be used, customer success stories as well, the PVA in the day content, but also that extensibility as well. I have Dynamics 365 customer service today. What does that mean for me? How can I use Power Virtual Agents? Or I'm deeply invested in Azure. How can I take advantage as a pro developer with Power Virtual Agents? Or I have Microsoft Teams, so I can use the free seeded license. All of those scenarios are kind of covered in that blog. So absolutely, that should be your go-to resources. And then when you have questions like Gary alluded to, you can go to the community, you can go to our YouTube channel, you can go to Microsoft Docs, you can go to, there's so many places for you to learn, but that one place will set you up for success to start your journey with Power Virtual Agents. Okay, we've got a question here from Abhishek. I want to create a conversation bot for a fictional character. Any tips?
Well, I mean, that's a good one. I guess, to be honest with you, the tips for creating the fictional character bot, and I'm assuming what they mean by that is that the bot will act as a fictional character.
Yeah.
So I think there's a number of things to that. Number one is you could consider how you actually surface that bot within your app or within your website. Maybe it's something that you don't do via the traditional web chat. Maybe we have something called the Direct Line API, which allows you to essentially build your own front end so that you can interact with that bot. Maybe you could put some sort of visual avatar on the front of it. That would be one thing to consider. After that, really, if you think about it, every single bot is a fictional character, right? I mean, every bot should have that tone of voice, that personality to either reflect your brand or to reflect the use case that it's fulfilling. And so really it's focus heavily on the language used by the bot, make sure it's consistent across all of your topics, to make sure that it's reflecting the personality that you want to show through. So I think it's about how do you surface it, where do you surface it, and the language that you're using behind it.
Yeah. So I've got a bit of a fun one for you, Gary. Okay, so how can we take this character to the next level with the new IVR capabilities? How can we bring in voice?
Okay, yeah, so yeah, definitely. I think I know where you're going with this one. So with our new telephony capabilities as well, let's say you decided to surface this even on your website or over the phone. You can actually now set one of our neural voice fonts inside of the bot settings page, and any of the neural voice fonts supported by our Microsoft Speech service are supported. So you can go and pick one of those neural voice fonts, and crucially, you can also pick a default speaking style. So you can say, well, by default, I'd like my bot to be cheerful, or I'd like my bot to be friendly. Or if your fictional character happens to be really grumpy and horrible, you can set the speaking style to angry. And you can even, within the bot settings page, type some copy and click the play button once you've selected your font and speaking style, and listen back to what it will sound like. And a pro tip from me as well as setting your bot voice and speaking style in our preview in our new canvas, within each individual message, let's say you want to alter the speaking style depending on the topic. So maybe the bot's friendly normally, but then when an error happens, it sounds a little bit frustrated or angry. You can actually use speech synthesis markup language, or SSML, to provide a tailored speech response where you can use the style tag. Check out the speech docs for more information to actually alter the speaking style on a per node basis. So I think you can have a lot of fun there.
Yeah, lots of opportunity for text and speech. Love it.
Yeah.
So we're getting close to wrap up. So I just want to touch on one area, which is Fusion development. Gary, if you could give me a quick 15 seconds, what is Fusion development? And then where can we learn more? Is there any content that we've got some good examples from? Maybe the mechanics show.
Yeah, sure. Yes. I like spoiler alert there. So the Fusion development, what we mean by that is where anybody from within an organization can collaborate to build out a solution. It's not unique to bots. It's something we talk about a lot in the Power Platform. So for example, within a bot project, we typically see designers, we see conversation designers, pro developers, business stakeholders, all working together on a bot. And we have to make sure that our tools and our platforms like PVA are really geared up to allow that collaboration. And as Jack said, stole my thunder, you can go and check out the Microsoft Mechanics show. So just head over to YouTube, search Microsoft Mechanics. I think one of the latest episodes, if not the latest. And we actually walk through a fun scenario where we show pro developers and citizen developers building a bot together.
Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you so much, Gary, for joining us. I want to thank everyone else that's joined us to learn a bit more about Power Virtual Agents, and hopefully the questions that you've asked, you've had some good answers and you're inspired to now go check out Power Virtual Agents and get started. So if you want to learn some more, there's lots of links below to see what's coming next. And thanks again.
Thank you.